When we started the That's What She Said show, we were hoping to create a platform for women to find their voices and share their stories. The women who joined us took that platform and created a community. We could never have imagined how powerful this community would become. When we look around at what's happening in the world today, it is so clear that women's voices are not just being heard, women's voices are changing the world.
We've been a part of the journey of That's What She Said since the beginning, cheering on these women who bravely share a piece of their lives with us. We've witnessed the joy and the tears and the coming together to support these women on the stage. It's an amazing collection of women celebrating each other. As they share their voices, they're showing us, each of us, how to live boldly, truthfully, and fearlessly. There's power in stories, power in sharing, and power in connection. We are so happy to support That's What She Said and the mission of women sharing stories and strengthening community in the process. Every life has a story worth sharing.
I've seen a lot of these shows and they're really inspiring and really, really amazing. The stories, people can relate in Champaign-Urbana to these women on stage. Yeah. We hear stories in the media that are negative and depressing, but when you come to a That's What She Said show, the energy in the room and the connection, it's fun. Amazing. It's awesome.
Uplifting for women.
It really, it's about empowering.
Yeah, it's great. It's about love and inspiring women to do great things.
It really is.
That's What She Said has been bringing women together since 2013 as a platform for women to share and be heard. There is great power in the sharing and hearing of personal stories with humor, compassion, and acceptance. We need to say thank you to the women, the people, the businesses of the Champaign-Urbana community for supporting That's What She Said for over 6 years. I am so honored to work with each of these speakers to help them shine on the stage. The time has never been better for women to come together, to raise each other up, build stronger communities, and give a voice to stories that need to be told.
Women have been taking care of each other since the dawn of time. It's just who we are. The difference today is that we now have platforms and megaphones to lift each other up and foster real connections in a way that has never before been possible.
Now is an important time for women.
It's our responsibility to create and support events like That's What She Said.
To nurture a spirit of sisterhood among women of all ages, races, and backgrounds.
Because at the end of the day, no matter who you are or what your path has been,
we are all longing to be heard,
searching for that deeper human connection.
And together we can do this.
Something remarkable happens when women come together to support other women.
To support other women.
To support other women. To support each other.
Women supporting women.
That's What She Said is all about giving women a voice.
The time is now.
Let's do this.
Please join me in welcoming your 2019 That's What She Said speakers.
Madam Mayor.
Madam State's Attorney.
Well, here we are on stage at That's What She Said. It is much bigger than I thought it would be. That's what she said! Carrie Rosso's mind is in the gutter.
And we're surrounded by these amazing women.
Amazing women.
Who are here to tell their stories.
I am just in awe of all of these women and of the women who have come before us over the past 5 years to tell their stories. I have laughed, I have cried.
Was it better than Cats?
It was better than Cats. Honestly, though, I've been overwhelmed by the courage it takes for people to come and share their stories from this stage. So, what stories are we going to tell? Carrie's probably Facebook Living this right now. It's going to be all over the place, social media. So, how about that time when you...
that time when you...
Oh, no, we're not talking about that.
How about a demonstration about how you celebrate your birthday?
Do you really think that they want to hear my really bad karaoke version of Redneck Women?
Yes.
No.
I know I do.
What? That requires a few shots of liquid courage. And anyway, that Facebook thing. So...
Well, the truth is that we've known each other for more than 25 years, and there really aren't any scandals between us.
Between us?
But sometimes I can't go to the grocery store without someone mistaking me for you.
If I had $1 for every time someone asked me if I was the mayor, I would make a really nice donation to your re-election campaign. Seriously, though, I agree the Netflix version of our relationship would probably be pretty boring. Two women who mutually respect each other, get along, like each other, in local government in a Midwest college town. I don't know that that's really binge-worthy material.
Probably not, but unfortunately in today's world, it's probably a unique story.
Yeah, true, unfortunately.
But seriously, isn't the point of She Said that every woman has a story to tell, and some are everyday, and some are tragic, and some are about the wonderful women who have supported us along the way? I know I've been surrounded by many women who've influenced my life.
Great idea. Instead of talking about ourselves, let's talk about them.
Sounds good. So, I've lived here my whole life. I'm a real townie.
So living here 25 years doesn't make me a townie?
Nope. But maybe an honorary one. My mom isn't a real townie either, and she was circuit clerk for 25 years.
So was she a tiger mom?
Well, kind of. When I was 3 or 4, my family lived in married student housing, and I went to the co-op nursery school. And we used to ride the bus from our apartment to the school, not because we couldn't walk, but because I loved to ride the bus. Sounds like some MTD people here. And so we got to know the bus driver, who, of course, loved me.
Of course.
And told my mom that I was precocious, and I chatted with him. And so one day, I asked my mom if I could ride the bus by myself.
When you were 4?
When I was 4. And my mom, who thought that it was important to raise very, very fierce girls, like Erin Tarr would say, decided that I should ride the bus by myself. And she arranged with the bus driver for me to get on. I paid him, and she ran like crazy to the school so she'd be there to help me get off. And I rode the bus by myself. And I am convinced that without that push towards independence and so many more along the way growing up, that I wouldn't be mayor today. And she's in the audience.
Well, when I was 4, my mother falsified my birth certificate to beat the December 1st deadline so that I could go to kindergarten a year early. For 6 years, I thought my birthday was in November instead of January. On the plus side, the year I figured that out when I changed schools and had to re-enroll, I had 2 birthdays. And I can tell that story now because the statute of limitations has long passed. But I do always think about how different my life would be if my mother had not committed a major felony in order to get me out of the house a year early.
So seriously, though, is this where you thought you'd end up?
Oh, not even close. When I was young, I thought I would be a diplomat living in Europe with my boyfriend, who I had met when I was a foreign exchange student in Switzerland. That one did not work out. But we are Facebook friends.
So this is a real story?
True story, not fake news.
Okay.
Seriously, though, when you and I met as young lawyers, I was married, I had a child, I had a job, and I was really focused on the day-to-day things that you focus on when you're a young person. And life seemed pretty simple. And ever since then, the world has changed. My daughter Alice is 23 now, and so many things have changed during her lifetime. I remember when she was about 5, we went on a trip to Florida, and we were flying. It was shortly after September 11th, and we were in the airport, and we got pulled aside, and she had to take off her tiny little white kids so that they could be checked for explosives. I was angry, and it was at that moment that I really realized that the world wasn't as safe as I thought it was.
Yeah, 25 years ago, I was sure that I knew who I was, and I knew what I believed. There was very little black or white, and it was all black or white, very little shades of gray.
Have things changed for you?
Yep, today I think I'm a very different person. I'm changed by my life in public service and all the amazing people that I've met who are different from me. 25 years ago, I would have firmly told you that I believed in the Second Amendment and that every law-abiding citizen had the right to carry a gun. And after holding a mom whose child has been shot to death and comforting a church full of distraught teenagers the same age as my own daughter, I can tell you without a doubt that I have changed.
Unfortunately, in my job, I've learned that lesson too many times over the past 25 years.
Yeah, can you tell us some of the people who've had that impact on your life?
I have always been in awe of the strength of women dealing with crisis. They have definitely shaped me in the decisions that I make. When I was in private practice, I had a client whose child was taken from her and was in DCFS custody. She hung signs all over her house that said, "The baby is all that matters." She worked every day to solve her problems so that she could get her child back. She definitely affected how I view those cases when I'm on the other side as a prosecutor. I have worked with, met with, sat with mothers who have lost their children to gun violence, to drunk drivers, and also with the mothers whose children have caused those deaths. They were all grieving, they were all trying to find some strength to go forward. They were all trying to do that, and many of them with compassion for each other and an understanding of what the other had lost. There is always, I think, beauty in tragedy. I sent a 19-year-old to prison for beating a 3-year-old to death. Absolute tragedy. But I have had the honor of seeing 2 wonderful women take that 3-year-old's little sister, who was also abused, adopt her and raise her into a beautiful, joyful young woman. She is, I call her, the silver lining in a very dark cloud. And we are Facebook friends.
For sure.
So tell me about some of the people who have stood out for you in your legal career.
Well, I've often seen our community come together in crisis. Do you remember Retha Crawford?
Wasn't she the homeless lady who lived on University Avenue?
She did, and I also remember that she would be near Booker T. Washington School. My sister remembers that when she would walk through the playground, that the teachers would gather the students and run them inside to keep them safe. And she lived in our community with what I thought were no mental health services and absolutely nobody caring for her.
Were there actually people caring for her?
There were. I got asked to be the lawyer in her guardianship case, and I found out that there were women that were bringing her food on the street, and there were also women. There was a woman who had unlocked her door and left it open so Ms. Retha could come inside and sleep if she wanted to. Together with them, I was able to obtain a guardianship, and Ms. Retha then moved to assisted living, where she was cared for off the streets and provided mental health services.
And that is an example of what an amazing community we live in. So many strong women, so many amazing stories. For me, though, the two most important women in my life are my daughters. Local politics can be pretty hard on a family. You grew up with your mother in politics, so you know that, and now your daughters are sharing the same experience.
They are. They tell me that they have never watched a 4th of July parade. They've always walked in them.
Mine are seasoned parade veterans as well. They have patiently, or not so patiently, listened to me talk to people in grocery stores or be talked at by people in grocery stores. They have handled all of the burdens of growing up and handled the good and bad decisions that we make as their parents. They have done that with amazing strength and wisdom. They are two amazing, beautiful young women, and I hope that they've learned a little bit of that from me.
I'm sure they did. And like your daughters, mine have grown up with a mom in the spotlight. We talk a lot about being kind and that what you do matters. And that lesson was really brought home 4 years ago when I was running for mayor the first time. And my oldest, who was 13 at the time, was out knocking on doors with a friend down the street from where I was, and she went up to the door and she knocked on the door, and the woman opened the door and took the brochure from my daughter's hand, looked into my daughter's eyes and said, "I'll never vote for that bitch. She was mean to me in high school." And then she slammed the door in my daughter's face. So,
Do you know who she was? What is it that you did to her?
I don't know, but we're probably Facebook friends. Or she's probably in the audience tonight.
No one's standing up.
But my daughter, I think, did really learn from that lesson, the impact that what we do matters and that we do have an impact on the people around us.
Well, these past 25 years have been an amazing experience, and I am lucky to call you my friend. People ask me all the time, if you could change something in your life or do something differently, what would you do? And I always say, I wouldn't do anything differently. I wouldn't change a thing. Because if I changed anything, then I wouldn't have the life that I have today. I wouldn't have the family that I have today. I wouldn't have the amazing job that I have. I wouldn't have the friends who surround me. So, if you could change anything, what would you do differently?
I wouldn't have been such a bitch to that girl in high school.
It's my privilege to be here tonight. My name is Mary, and this little guy here is baby Connor, who I'm expecting any time now. If you guess that I'm not originally from Champaign, Urbana, then congratulations, you are correct. I grew up all over Asia, but I called Hong Kong my home most of the time. Oftentimes people ask me, if you are from Hong Kong, how did you get here? To answer that, I have to take you back 18 years ago when I was a TV reporter. This particular day, I was at the Hong Kong airport looking for international travelers to find out what brought them to Hong Kong. Little did I know, when I asked one Mr. Brad Mahaffey what his plans were while he was visiting, that was eventually to marry me. I don't think this was in his plans either, right, Mr. Mahaffey? For 15 years, we have built a life together in what I now consider my home of Champaign, Urbana. Besides baby Connor, who will be here soon, we have a 6-year-old daughter named Olivia. Olivia represents a mix of two very different cultures. It's not just the racial makeup of her Asian mom and her Caucasian dad, but her cultural identity, and how my husband and I reconcile our parenting in harmony instead of a conflict. But to achieve that harmony, I learned I had to reconcile my own childhood and my own experience with my parents first. Let me ask you, how many of you have ever heard the term of tiger mother? I see some hands there. The term tiger mother was most recently made popular by Amy Chai in her highly controversial book, The Battling of the Tiger Mother, that described a strict, controlling parenting style to develop successful children. The term tiger mother is very familiar to me because I was raised in a similar situation. And for me, to be an effective mother for Olivia, I had to face my past with my parents, particularly with my own mother. You see, traditional Chinese parents think their kids owe them everything. Seriously, I'm not kidding. The belief is that they think their kids have to spend their entire lives the belief is that the children must spend their entire lives repaying their parents by obeying them and making them very proud. In my own experience, this meant I could get no grade, less than an A, or I would suffer consequences by taking away my meals or birthday presents. How sad is that, right? So when it came time for my sisters and I to go to college, we did not get to choose what we want to study, but our parents picked what they want us to study. In my case, despite having no interest in the major, my parents picked clinical medicine for me. And for 7 years, to please my parents, I studied medicine until I brought home my degree, finally thinking my service to my parents was over. I proudly asked my mother if she would hand my degree in her bedroom, right next to her bed, and she could see it every day. Partially hoping she would say yes, and partially hoping to make her mad. Yes, I did it intentionally. She did get mad. It would seem my service was not over. Her next plan was trying to find a job for me at a hospital. But it wasn't too long before I took over the control. And to spite my parents, I got a job as a TV reporter. And to spite them more, I was so happy to move 8,000 miles away to settle in my husband's home here instead of coming over to me. Believe or not, the day I got married, I did not tell my mother. That resentment has continued to hurt my relationship with my mother even today. So I knew when we had Olivia, I did not want the same outcome, but I also wanted her to be aware of her entire cultural identity, not just her American one, but her mother's side. So I made 3 rules for myself to guide my own parenting style. My first rule was to always remember to listen. I knew I couldn't be her friend because I had to be a authority figure in her life. But I wanted it to be a safe place where she knew her feelings and thoughts could be expressed without repercussion and consequences. My parents left me to figure out my own challenges and struggles. They did not ask me why I did not do well on something or why I react in a certain way. I wanted to differentiate with my relationship with my own daughter, Olivia. I wanted her to always know she could talk to me. My second rule was to always be consistent, so Olivia knew what to expect from me. My parents would yell and screaming at me for bringing home less than a perfect score on my test. And a few minutes later, they tried to give me a sort of apology that was hard on me because they loved me. To me as a child, that was so confusing. How could you abuse me because you love me? My third and my last rule for myself was to think about it, my reaction, impact of my reaction before I did it. I have struggled with this one the most, to be honest. For example, not long time ago, Olivia brought home a math test with a grade of 20 out of 23, which is a B grade, and yes, I figured out in my mind immediately it's a B grade. And that's not bad at all, right? So my immediate reaction was to ask her, why this is not an A, Olivia? So I did not stop to consider the consequences before the words left my mouth. And when I apologized, I realized I was breaking my second rule because I was doing my parents did to me by not being consistent. And every time when I messed up this rule, I get a little bit better at keeping it because guilt is a powerful teacher. If I did not have my own childhood experience, I may not have been able to change those experiences into my 3 rules for being a better mother. I hope I'm not offending any tiger mother out there. Personally, I just want my kids to work hard toward their happiness, whatever that may be, even if there are unexpected bumps along the road. As their mother, I will be here for them and to support whatever they chose to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Life has a funny way of making moments in time stand still. Moments that warm my heart, moments that are humorous and endearing. Moments shared with people who say something or come into my life at the right time and shine. I have discovered that through the crud, that life is beautiful and it is magnificent. And I am forever thankful for this discovery. These last 2 years have given me a serious dose of perspective. My life is filled with anxiety, fear, worry, sadness, exhaustion, and love. Lots and lots of love. My husband was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. A Gleason score of 10, with a cancer that had metastasized to many of his bones. He has gone from 1 healthcare provider to 19 here in Champaign alone. He has spent 35 days in the hospital, has had 29 scans. He has had over 90 doctor's appointments, 25 rounds of radiation, 23 rounds of chemo. He has had 14 bilateral nephrostomy tube changes, 7 trips to the ER, and over 87 prescriptions filled. He is an amazing man. Although he endures a lot of pain, he makes up his mind to be happy and make the most of what is before him. I'll never forget the day that my life changed forever. I was sitting in my office talking to my friend, and my cell phone rang. I had 2 calls on my cell phone. They were both from my husband. Back then, we didn't call to chat. One call meant, I need to talk to you. 2 calls back to back meant, I need to talk to you now. Pick up the friggin' phone. 25 years of marriage has its codes and nuances. As my friend was getting up to leave, I answered my office phone, and I did not recognize my husband's voice. That moment is forever frozen. I know what I was wearing. I know what my friend was wearing. I know what time of day it was. I know what the weather was. And I know what was going on at work. That memory is embedded. Earlier that day, Larry had had a Foley catheter placed to relieve his bladder, or as he refers to it, a Johnsonoscopy. He was in excruciating pain, and urology wanted him to come back. A few hours later, he was rushed to surgery to stop the bleeding. There wasn't an opportunity to meet the surgeon prior, and it's a good thing, because when my name was called and the surgeon walked out, I thought, oh my God, that man operated on my husband. He's a big guy wearing a tattered camouflage coat over his scrubs, sporting an awful mutton chop beard. He looked like he hunted squirrels and ate them. That is another moment frozen in time. I know what the lighting in the waiting room was. I know what the smell of the room was. I know what color of couch I was sitting on, and the kindness in his eyes as he told me what he had found. He turned out to be one of those people that arrive at the right time and shine. He brought levity amid the seriousness. He had the kids laughing, and he brought a number of smiles to Larry. It turns out that that ridiculous beard was for a fundraiser. Since that day, there have been many moments that have struck me as I go through this life that make me pause to appreciate its beauty. A simple ray of sunshine in an alley with the companionship of a dear friend captures my attention. I can feel the warmth, I can smell the earth, and I can feel the love in my heart. Humanity is beautiful. When friends hug at the right time, or they grab my arm in sympathy, my love grows. Acquaintances and strangers always surprise us with kindness. The friend who comes to the back door laden with food, the lasagna, the salad, the bread, the wine, the desserts for 24, even though there's just 2 of us. The beauty of life shines through our children. Each one uplifts me in their own way. The family visits have been more frequent, a little longer, more cherished, and I appreciate that they all come and want to cheer him on. Even the chaotic energy of the 4 grandkids as they burst through the door. They all come, they all spend those precious moments, and the family time has been very appreciative. But when they leave, there is a pile of laundry. Our families and friends and humanity make me stand a little taller and more appreciative of what I have. In the past 2 years, I've grieved, I've cried, I felt sorry for myself, I felt sorry for Larry. I've mourned, I've been ill-tempered, I've been resentful, I've dreaded coming home. I'm exhausted, and I cry some more. I've jumped when I shouldn't have. I've been forced to be more patient. I've learned to get out of my own thoughts. And I've learned to cherish the time spent with Larry. But most of all, I've learned to slow down and enjoy the beauty of this life. It is said that it is better to tell the story from the scar than the wound. And I realize that my story is fresh. I was asked many months ago to stand before you and tell this story. And for many months, I didn't know what the ending would be. But I am happy to share that Larry and I are still finding ways to enjoy life and to experience the many beautiful and magnificent moments as possible. Thank you.
That must be my crew over there. Okay. The year was 2005, and we were headed to the Kentucky Derby. For any of you that have been to the Kentucky Derby, you know that women get dressed. They legit get dressed, right? They're thinking about their outfit for the entire year ahead of time. And my friend Colleen, she and I do the exact same thing. We plan our dresses, our hats, our shoes, our jewelry. What's our look going to be? We take the whole year, really, the whole year, to discuss and put it together. One thing that Colleen and I do is pay attention to the weeks or months ahead of the Derby, to all of the celebrity action, to see which celebrities are rumored to be there that year or the year we're going to be there. And this year, the notable celebs were Usher, that's good, right? Tara Reid, not so great. Tori Spelling, yeah. Jamie Lynn Sigler, she played Meadow Soprano on The Sopranos. And thanks to Colleen, we also had some really awesome seats. Someone who knew Colleen got us seats near Millionaires Row, where all the top celebrities were going to be. So here's how the day started. We had a little pregame at the house, and we get to Churchill around 9 in the morning. We walk through the paddock, we find our seats, and we hit the bar and order a mint julep. We get mint juleps because they're Kentucky Derby tradition, not because they taste good. Ugh. After our traditional mint julep, we go straight to Lily's, and a lily is another lovely Derby drink which helps wash down all that bourbon. The actual Kentucky Derby race is like the 10th race of the day, somewhere around 4, so that gives us plenty of time and all day to enjoy our lovely lilies. There is another sport that goes on the first day in May at Churchill Downs. The sport of lady watching. We love to admire other women's style, their hats, their dresses, their shoes, kind of what their look is, and kind of what they're going for. I am 90% consumed with lady watching and like 10% consumed with the horses. So, lady watching is a sport. 2, I'm a professional. And 3, I am the GOAT, me. we're standing there chatting with our husbands and friends near the bedding windows, and I position myself so I can keep one eye in our circle of friends chatting, and then one eye on the escalator that's coming down from Millionaires Row, which is where all the celebs would be. And that is great because I'm there to do some legit lady/celeb watching because it's my job and because I'm the greatest of all time. So, someone who knew someone brings Steve Young over, NFL Hall of Fame quarterback. Steve Young is 6'2", big, great head of hair. So you guys know I prefer them bald, like my hubby over there. Raise your hand, Shay. There he is. Woo! Steve Young, he's friendly and he's chatty, but he's just a football player. So we're talking, and out of my left eye, which remains locked on the escalator, I see her. I see Tori Spelling. Woo! The moment I have been waiting for has arrived, and it's go time. So clearly, I have no choice but to bull rush Steve Young out of my way, like I am a 320-pound, defensive lineman with zero body fat, and I am pushing him out of the way, and I'm yelling, Tori! Tori Spelling! Tori! She's not turning around. But we're not that far away. She can hear me. There's no doubt she can hear me. I'm the only person, run hustling, yelling, Tori Spelling, Tori Spelling. She's not turning around, and she is laser focused, moving through the crowd, and I'm hustling to get to her. Hustling, not running. Let's be real. I was in heels, and my boobs were taped into my dress. So, wouldn't have been good. But, by the way, that is still my husband's favorite dress. I'm winking at you. If I ran, that's what this story would be about. The story would be about the day my boobies were flying all over the place, not about the day that we were going to become best friends with Tori Spelling. So I'm still yelling, Tori, Tori Spelling, Tori. From a distance, I hear my wingman, Colleen, I hear her coming up strong from this side of me, and we're converging. She starts yelling, Donna Martin! Donna Martin! Donna! Donna! She still refused to look at us. So she just keeps walking, and we realize she's not going to give us the time of day. And so we're standing there, kind of confused. Are you serious? She didn't even turn her head. That's kind of what Colleen and I were thinking. We're thinking, it's not like she's the biggest celebrity at this moment, right? Not so much. This was post 90210, pre-comeback, pre-reality series. So I'm guessing she was probably at that time like a G-list celebrity, right? No, maybe H. I'm sticking with H. She was an H-list celebrity. That's what she was. So we were just confused, and obviously she doesn't know how amazing Colleen and I are. We're smart, We're savvy, we're independent, we're strong, we know how to live our best life, we bring the party. We could have been so good for Tori Spelling. We could have been there for her. We could have been friends, and she was our celebrity, and we were totally prepared to guide her through life. Bitch didn't look at us once. Not once. Didn't tilt her head, didn't turn her neck, didn't give us a side eye. Totally dissed us. That's it. She's dead to me. R.I.P. Tori Spelling. Colleen and I go back over to the group, and clearly we need another cocktail. And of course, jokes are flying rest of the day about our little escapade, and it's great because we love a good joke, and for the butt of the joke, okay, that's even funnier. We were actually able to enjoy the moment we were blown off by an L-list celebrity. So, before the Derby race actually starts, I need to make a trip to the restroom. And since we have these great seats, we have very nice restrooms as well. The stalls have doors that go from top to the bottom, so you can't see underneath. If you could see underneath, of course, I would have been on all fours looking at shoes and whatever. So I'm standing in line at this point, and we've been drinking all day. So I'm about 65, 75% in the tank. So balance, balance is not as easy as it was when we first got there at 9 a.m. So I'm leaning on the wall, leaning on the wall, barely and gently, because I didn't want to look like a basic drunk chick, because clearly we're at the Kentucky Derby and it's a little bit fancier than that. So I'm leaning on the wall carefully, and I have my hat on and sunglasses, and that's all part of my look, so I'm just being very, very cautious. And I can hear the girls behind me whispering. So I dangerously kind of lean back a little bit more to hear what they're saying. And I'm like, are they talking about how drunk I am? Like, that's going to be a problem. So I'm leaning back, and I hear them say, Meadow Soprano is in here. Ugh. I'm like, what? R.I.P. Tori Spelling, Meadow Soprano is our new celebrity. Like, this is it. When she comes out of that stall, I'm going to chat it up. We're going to have small talk. I'm going to take her, and I'm going to present her to Colleen, and we are going to be best friends, and Colleen and I are going to be able to guide her through her life, because that's what friends are for. So I turned around to the girls, I turned around to them, and their models, and literally like 6 feet, all legs. And I turned around and I said, did you say Meadow Soprano is in here? And the one model, she looks at me. Well, she looks down at me. She's like, watch this. She's like, oh, we thought it was you. Yep. So they thought that I was Meadow Soprano. So right there, I nearly peed my dress. Right there, didn't have to go in the stall. Almost peed my dress. One, someone thought I was Meadow Soprano. And two, when I turned around, I ruined their celebrity moment, and it made me feel so much better.
Yes, I love elephants. It just walked its way. I love elephants. I have elephant statues in my house. Elephant photographs on my walls, elephant prints on my clothes. I wear elephant earrings, and I have an elephant cell phone case. My friends know it is a rare day that I do not have elephants on me somewhere. And no, I am not a Republican. Elephants have always brought me joy. They are just so big and strong, but yet such elegant creatures. I would own a real one if I could. In fact, one of the highlights of my life was when I got to ride a live elephant at the fairgrounds in California. My very first elephant was a gift from my auntie. I must have been around 14 years old. And I held on to that elephant and grew very possessive of my elephants through the years. I had a beautiful childhood and a beautiful family and a beautiful mother who lived to be 101 years old. I married the love of my life when I was 23 years old. And we have been together for 45 years and raised 4 children. It sounds, excuse me, it sounds like a beautiful story of innocent young love, doesn't it? For most people, the story of getting married at 23 would be the beginning, the start of your lives together. But for me, it wasn't. I had already had 2 husbands, 4 children, and a lifetime of pain, confusion, secrets, and stories. But I got blessed. I fell in love with this wonderful man who loved me and my children. At first, I didn't tell him anything. How could I? My secrets brought shame. It must have been my fault. I did things I was not proud of. But little by little, I grew in his love and found safety and protection. He loved me for me. And I was able to tell him, just him. This is our last one. There are things that happened to me that I never talked about. Not to nobody. I couldn't tell my mother. I couldn't tell my siblings. It took me a long time to realize that my innocence was stolen from me. That what these men did to me was not okay. I didn't know. I didn't know about things that happened between grown men and women. I didn't know that these two men who I called uncles took advantage of 13-year-old girls like me. I didn't know. Then there were the boys I hung out with. They thought I was cool because I played sports like baseball. I climbed trees. I was one of them. I was 15 years old when I found out I was pregnant. It was a shock to my parents, but even more, it was a shock to me. No one had ever told me how girls get pregnant. No one had told me or taught me about the birds and the bees. No one had talked to me about being careful and that I shouldn't be alone with these men. He was 21 and I was 15. I didn't even know what was happening to me when I was alone with them. But there I was. One day I was climbing trees with the boys, and the next I was in the delivery room pushing out a baby girl. It was what it was. I was a mommy. And I had to figure out what was next. I got married at 17 and had 2 more babies. That husband didn't work out. I tried it again at 21. We had 1 baby together, and he didn't work out either. So by 23 years old, I was single and with 4 babies and a big secret. But I got blessed. I fell in love with this wonderful man who loved me and my children. At first, I didn't tell him anything. How could I? My secrets brought shame. It must have been my fault. I did things I was not proud of, but little by little, I grew in his love and found safety and protection. He loved me for me. And I was able to tell him, but just him, that one person who helped me carry my secret all these years. I buried my mother at the incredible age of 101. And even then, even after all that time had passed, she never knew. In fact, it took me 40 years to understand it all. It took me 40 years to be able to say the words. It took me 40 years to realize that I was raped. I was raped by men who I trusted. And I didn't even know what it was they were doing to me. But I know now. And I'm standing here, almost 70 years old. I look good. Finally able and willing to speak my truth. So, my dear friends, I am sharing my secret out loud for the first time. For the first time with anyone besides my darling husband here tonight. I was taken advantage of many times. I was left alone with men who I was supposed to trust. I had a baby girl without even knowing how babies were made. I learned a lot since then. I learned to trust people, and I found my faith in the Lord. Jesus. Whew. I made a decision long ago not to let life get me down. Yes, terrible, awful things happen. But what are you going to do? Go hide in the corner and chew on toilet paper? Not me. I am a truly happy person. I look in the mirror and I see 4 feet and 10 inches of fabulous. Whoa. I love God and my community, and I love people. I love to make people smile, and I don't let things get to me. I know that my love and light comes from the inside because I love me some me. And I truly, truly hope that by standing here today, sharing my story, I can inspire someone, encourage anyone out there tonight who may have their own secrets. I know girls today may be like me, scared to come forward, even years later, because you are afraid of what people might think. I know for years I blamed myself. For years I felt the shame, but no more. It wasn't my fault, and it's not yours. Mothers, teachers, fellow women, please hear this. Talk to your girls, educate young girls, and how to keep themselves safe. Empower them to stand up for themselves and encourage them to speak their truth. Truth is power, even if it takes 40 years. Like I said, I got blessed. I found a strong, loving man to listen and be there for me, to be my partner and raise our children. He is larger than life. This man with his jolly smile and his big old round belly. He's my rock, my safety. Sometimes I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to rub his belly and ask him, when is the baby due? Because it makes us laugh, and laughter is like medicine. Maybe that is why I started loving elephants so many years ago. They were big, strong, and made me feel safe. And that is what I needed to get through. These giant, peaceful creatures became my symbol of hope. And that is something no person on this earth can take away from me. Hope lives in your heart and in your soul. And where there is hope, there is a way forward. Amen.
Good evening, ladies, and the gentlemen brave enough to join us here tonight. Thank you so much for being here this evening to share in this remarkable experience with these 11 incredible women. I am Jeanette Jurek. Thank you. And as the creative director of the She Said project and director of this show, I have the extreme honor of working with each of these women since day one, helping them to find their stories and prepare them for the stage tonight. There have been so many amazing stories told on the She Said stage over the years, and we certainly hope that there will be many, many more in the years to come. But none of this would be possible without our sponsors. Carrie Rosso, what are you doing?
Well, so we've been going Facebook Live all day today. I'm so sorry, Jeanette. I just wanted to come out just for a second and just say hey. So, hey.
Are we going live?
Yeah, so, hey.
Oh, hey, everybody. Hey. Can you guys say hey?
Everybody in the house? Wait, sorry, that was kind of pitiful. And I need to get you ready. Everybody say hey. All right, sorry. Okay, so we're just gonna, that's it. Everybody said hey. I'll catch you later at the after party.
All right.
Over and out.
Check in with Facebook Live later.
Okay.
So, now that you're here,
I'm here to host with you.
I thought we were doing this like the Oscars this year, a show with no host.
Well, we were going to, and then, I saw you up here.
Well, it's the time in the show where we have to thank the people who made tonight possible, our sponsors.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, well, if you're going to help me out, that's fine. But can I get my slides back up on the screen, please? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my not co-host of the show this evening, one of the founders of That's What She Said, Carrie Rosso. So we need to thank a lot of people, starting with tonight's show's presenting sponsor, Sterling Wealth Management.
I love you, Sharon.
We so appreciate your passion for our community and for our mission. And a big thank you to Texture Home for designing our stage for us this evening. Please join me in saying thank you to Christie Clinic, who has been a supporter of the show since the beginning. Thank you to Commerce Bank for being a new partner as we grow. Thank you to Carl and the team at Merrill Lynch. Thank you to Stephanie Santos-McLeese and the We Network of Champaign County. And thank you to the Geese College of Business PMBA program at the University of Illinois. Thank you to each and every sponsor who came on board and said yes to supporting the mission of women sharing stories this evening. Thank you. You know, Carrie, tonight marks the 5th installment of That's What She Said live on stage.
It's been a wild ride. It has really been a wild ride since Jill, Casey, and I, we were just 3 moms sitting on the patio, cracking lots of That's What She Said jokes, and brainstorming ways to show our girls that we could make our little corner of the world just that much brighter. And the next thing you know, this show was born.
And we would like to welcome and celebrate all of the proud She Said sisters who have been a part of this show through the years and who are here in the audience tonight. Where are my girls at?
Stand up. Stand up. I see you, Jim Cochran. Stand up. Amy Armstrong, I see you. Morning to you.
Thank you. We would like to share with you all just some of the impact that this show has had on women in our community. So, tonight, proceeds from tonight's show will go to support organizations like
Courage Connection, an incredible organization helping women and children in domestic violence situations, and the Junior League of Champaign-Urbana, an organization of women dedicated to improving communities.
It's all about connections, right? The connections made from each That's What She Said show have been incredible.
And we found many ways to connect with women at different events through the years, like our Lady Fest weekends, and at the She Said Stepping Up shoe drive at the Illinois Marathon. And we had some fun exchanging even more stories from incredible women on our YouTube channel on That's What She Said, the web series.
And in 2018, we got to do something really cool with an amazing group of local teenage girls. No, really. Teenagers get a bad rap, and this group of girls blew that stereotype up.
We partnered with Erin Tarr at Be the Benchmark, and we launched our first ever That's What Teens Say program. Thank you to the generous support of Busey Bank and the Champaign Park District for allowing us for that to happen. And we'd like to welcome McGuire Homes, who stepped up to be a sponsor this year, so we can offer the program again to teen girls at the end of this month.
Who knows where That's What She Said will go next?
That's right. You know, I think it's time that we take an opportunity to share That's What She Said with more women in more communities.
I thought this was a secret.
I think it's time to announce some exciting news. That's What She Said is coming to Bloomington Normal in September 2019. Also presented, thank you very much, by Sterling Wealth Management.
Yes, but will it play in Peoria?
We shall see about that. Stay tuned for even more exciting announcements about She Said popping up in more communities soon.
One of the connections that has meant so much to me has been through taking groups of women on what we call soul journeys to God's Littlest Angels orphanage in Haiti.
Carrie, do you realize that since this all began, there have been 7 separate trips inspired by the She Said Soul Journeys? That translates to thousands of dollars, piles of donations, countless hours by more than 50 women working at an orphanage in Haiti. Talk about an impact.
During our 2016 trip, our very own Mayor Deb Frank Finan and our team of community ambassadors, that's really just a fancy name that we gave ourselves, met with local government leaders in Kinskov, Haiti, to build a bridge between Kinskov and Champaign-Urbana.
And Mayor Finan had the honor of proclaiming a sister city relationship with Kinskov to continue this dialogue. In 2017, a delegation from Haiti, including the mayor of Kinskov, traveled to Champaign to learn from our city officials and from professors at the University of Illinois so that they could go and continue to improve their impact on the citizens of Haiti.
We're proud of the community that has been built around the She Said project, for the power of women knows no bounds.
Thank you. So, by you choosing to be here tonight to truly, deeply listen to one woman and her story, you are part of something so much bigger.
She's gonna cry.
No, not.
She's gonna cry. For those of you who don't know, the orphanage that we visit in Haiti is run by some incredible folks in Monticello, Illinois. And this week, we're all still reeling from the loss of Gentle Giant and our soul journey host, Tim Parker, a man who gave everything he had to his family and to the people of Haiti. Tim truly lived a life of service.
And in his honor, proceeds from tonight's show are going to support God's Littlest Angels Orphanage and the Chosen and Cherished Ministries in Haiti.
Wherever we go, we continue our mission of exchanging stories. There are so many stories that have touched us by the women in Haiti. We've always wanted to find a way to share those stories with you. Stories like Joyce Trainer. During our team trips, we've watched Joyce's story unfold, and it is truly extraordinary. From her own mission experience at age 19, to moving to Haiti to work there full time, to taking on the role of mom to 10 orphans who were otherwise deemed unadoptable. Joyce could not be here with us tonight, but we could not be more honored to share her story with you.
Never did I imagine coming down here to adopt 10 children in Haiti. That was not my intention. That's not what I came down here to do. The kids call me Joyce. My youngest calls me Mom. My others call me Mom when they want something from me. But the kids mostly call me Joyce. That's what they knew me as for 5 years. All right, guys, we gotta get going.
Joyce Trainer is the founder of Chosen and Cherished Ministries, which is the forever home of 10 children from insufferable circumstances. Joyce's passion for Haiti started long before she met her children. She moved to Haiti at the age of 19 to work at an orphanage as an English teacher. It was there that 8 years later she would meet her children for the first time, never imagining in that moment that one day they would be hers. In 2012, an orphanage referred to as Sister Donna's was shut down after reports that the 90 kids there were unsupervised, neglected, abused, and exploited, and that the orphanage was engaged in human trafficking. Haitian Social Services, IBESR, and the local authorities arrived at the orphanage and forcefully removed all the children, dividing them into groups. The smallest children were unexpectedly brought to GLA, where Joyce was.
So as social services brought them and set them down, without us knowing their names, their ages, and whom they belonged to or anything like that, these 21 little tiny, exhausted souls sat there. I just remember so much life being missing from them. I just, like, empty eyes and just a lot of hurt, obviously, clearly going on, not to mention physically, open gaping wounds, sores, clearly emotional scarring going on.
Every effort was made to find and reunite these children with any living relatives, and several were. But IBESR finally gave up and declared the rest orphaned. However, unlike other orphan children at GLA, the government would not release them for international adoption. Years passed. As the kids got older, they watched all of their friends get chosen, adopted, and taken into loving families, knowing this would never happen for them.
In January of 2016, I felt as if God was calling me away from the organization that I had been working with. I couldn't feel peace about walking away. And so I remember sitting on the floor of my bedroom, actually, and I remember sitting with my Bible open and saying, God, if you want me to go, show me or explain to me how you're going to move these kids in a different direction. I said, find someone that wants to take this on. And it was the funniest thing, because as clear as I asked, I remember him saying, it's you.
Joyce opened the doors of CCM in 2017, and with the approval of IBESR, moved her 10 children into their very own home for the first time in their lives.
We set aside every Saturday night to be our family night, so we call in for local dinner, which is absolutely our favorite, rice and beans, amazing barbecued chicken, and we go and pick it up as a family. We come home, we pick a new movie that maybe just came out recently, we put it on the big screen, and we snuggle together as much as we possibly can. We eat food, we drink Coke, and we basically stuff ourselves and have an amazing time together. My biggest joys as a family is bringing together those little simple, kind of dumb moments that you don't think are going to become family moments. We end our day in devotions because I think no matter what's going on in our day, it's important to bring it back to Jesus. So we all get together and read God's Word and spend time in prayer because it's important for us to bring it right back to who He is. All of my children were severely malnourished when they first arrived. We're still dealing with the effects of that daily in ways such as stunted growth, cognitive developments, as well as learning disabilities. It is hard for some of them to be willing to trust because all they've known in life is loss, and that's something that's just actually been consistent in their life. So to have someone to promise them and tell them that this is forever, or that I'm going to be there, or that no matter what you do or what choices you make, that doesn't stop the love. Okay, so she's having 4, so we gotta put 2 more in there. I think my kids have a good idea of what they would like to do in life, and I think as they come to me and say, you know, I want to be a pilot, or I want to be a vet, that they really get the idea that they have the opportunity to do something bigger in life, or they have the opportunity to do something great in life. And I think that's a really awesome thing to know, that those passions or those things that they desire is potentially an option in their future. My hope for my kids are to ultimately love Jesus and to bring others to Christ. Honestly, I can't say that I want this or that or something else for them other than to make a decision to follow Christ.
These children have come a long way from their painful past, but there is still a long road ahead, and they cannot do it alone. Consider partnering with the CCM family and help give these kids the opportunity for a future full of possibility.
Please welcome back your 2019 That's What She Said speakers.
I'm just a black girl. Just a black girl. Statistically, they said I would make it. Black girls from Chicago don't always make it out. They say we tend to become a product of our environment. I grew up on the South Side, what we affectionately called the low end, where poverty, drugs, teen pregnancy, and alcoholism were the norm. My mama worked 3 jobs to support us, nights and weekends, but we still got food stamps. Sometimes I watched her go without so that my brothers and I could eat. I often slept on the couch or the floor I shared with my 2 younger brothers. Gang violence happened every day in my neighborhood. I knew a boy in 8th grade who was shot and killed. In 7th and 8th grade, I knew girls who were pregnant or had babies already. I went to Dunbar Vocational Career Academy, which was much like a prison. Security guards, metal detectors, and bars on the windows. We were heavily policed. That environment instilled in us as black children that we would be nothing more than the existence we knew. But as a little black girl, I knew there was more. Knew in my heart I was more. I was full of wisdom, knowledge, and potential. I saw beyond my environment, beyond the labels that educators and society gave me and others that looked like me. but no one ever showed me a way to be more. There was this one day that stood out to me and showed me a different kind of life. We had an exchange day with a high school in Naperville, and they were pretty fancy. You knew Naperville. There, as you seem to know, I saw superior textbooks and enhanced technology. But more importantly, I witnessed the better treatment of the students. They were not questioned about their whereabouts or treated like second-class citizens. That's when I knew that I needed to find a way to something better. College seemed like a way out, a way up. No one in my immediate family had ever attended college, so no one prepared me for the application process because they were just as clueless as I was. My high school counselor thought that community college was my only hope, if any. When I expressed my interest in attending the U of I, she retorted matter-of-factly, "No, no, no, that is not an option for you." I recently read Becoming by Michelle Obama. Her high school counselor told her the same thing. So much for seeing our potential. Now, I can't blame the high school counselor too much, though. You see, I only got a 16 on the ACT. Yeah, just a 16. And in college terms, you were done, right? There is no way that any university, and definitely not a prestigious one like U of I, would accept you. Senior year, a few students I knew began applying to universities. My high school sweetheart applied and was accepted to Northern Illinois University. So that inspired me to submit my one and only college application in an attempt to follow him, of course. It's okay. He's my husband now. I put all my eggs in that one basket, and nobody ever told me that was not a good idea, that I should apply to more than one school. But I only applied to Northern, where they happened to lose my information. Can you believe that? Not a knock on Northern. It was just my fate. It just so happened that recruiters from the U of I were speaking to classes that week about a bridge transition program in the College of LAS, and they were offering application fee waivers. I submitted the application and went through the interview process. I remember the determination I felt for that opportunity, dressing up for the interview and taking the bus on my own to the Chicago U of I campus. I got accepted and was required to complete the summer portion of the program. Boy, oh boy, I did not know what I was in for. Bridge was very different. We even made t-shirts that said, "You think you know, but you have no idea." Bridge was rough. No TV, no phones, and a tedious schedule starting at 7 a.m. and ending at 10 p.m. daily. I know, it was rough. So we complained about that, and complained some more. But now I realize, of course, the opportunity the program provided me. It enhanced my discipline, encouraged my hard work, taught me study habits, time management, and much more. These were skills that went untaught at Dunbar. I survived, and those experiences helped build my resilience, helped me push through, and taught me how to get up from setbacks. They also help and continue to help build my character and allow me to use the lessons I've learned to pay it forward to other women, especially black girls. My mother was also integral in my development, encouraging me constantly, telling me to be open to all opportunities, letting me do my own thing, be my own person, which instilled a high level of self-confidence and an unstoppable mentality. In college, I continued to seek out women that would support me the ways that my mother did. I found the best sorority. Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Z Phi! I found other women that looked like me, shared resources with me, grew with me, and challenged me. They still challenge me to this day. This is how I continue to excel despite obstacles and continue to climb the ladder of success because of the support of other women. Just 1 month after college graduation, I began my master's program in the School of Social Work, also here at Illinois. Social work has allowed me to find my true passion, helping and supporting vulnerable and marginalized groups, uplifting women, and fighting for social justice. Serving others, like I'd done in my sorority, is now my profession and daily walk. I began serving underrepresented students through a Tryout program, where I was able to provide support and resources through a social work lens. I live and breathe social work. This black girl, who only got a 16 on the ACT, who lived in poverty in an environment stricken with many ills of society, who never had her own bed, who never had her own bed to sleep in until her first night in college, is now a director in student affairs at Illinois, a doctoral candidate in educational policy, a professor, a mentor, an entrepreneur, a board member of community organizations, an author recognized by the NAACP, host of her own podcast, and a county board member. Most importantly, a wife and mother of 3. And I used to be your local Mary Kay representative. But I'm just a black girl. Chi-Town made me. The South Side raised me. The low end gave me what I needed, sustained me. A girl constantly told that she would never soar, that she would never thrive. But even when sleeping on a shared bedroom floor, I knew the Lord had more. Having defeated the myths, stereotypes, and statistics, I am honored to stand before you as a model of black excellence and black girl magic.
I've spent over half my life in competitive soccer, and I've competed at some of the top levels it has to offer. To get there, my world consisted of working hard both as a player and a teammate. I knew the harder I worked, the greater the victory. I always said I wanted to play soccer in college, so I worked hard and received a full ride. Actually, this year I was inducted into the U of I Hall of Fame. Soccer had been my life for so long that once graduation approached, I didn't know what I was going to do. But through all my hard work, I was recruited to play for a top women's professional club in Sweden. The point I'm getting towards is I've always had total control of where my life was going and what I was able to achieve through pure drive, determination, a strong work ethic, and focus. However, there was nothing my 23-year soccer career could do to prepare me for the challenges of starting a family. Don't get me wrong, I had boyfriends throughout the years. I knew what it would actually take. But I did tell my mom in 2001 that I gave guys up for Lent and I never went back. My wife Jess and I got married in October of 2016. There she is. And shortly after that, we began talking about adding to our family, except this time it would be with human babies, not another dog or cat. there was just one really important thing missing from our equation: sperm. And actually, Carrie Rosso, front row here, tried to make me take the word sperm out. But it is what it is, and that's what it's called. And I find it extremely funny that the straight girl has a bigger problem with the word sperm than the lesbian. Obviously, neither one of us had the equipment to provide sperm. So we made an appointment with Dr. Faye and her nurses here in Champaign to learn about all our options. We talked about having a known donor versus an anonymous donor, and we learned the pros and cons of each. But each of these came with an extremely different price tag. And we were rookies in the department, and we had no idea what we were doing. But we really didn't think it would be easier and expensive. But we were a bit shocked to learn that we probably would need to budget for about $30,000 before insurance would kick in. So super long story short, actually the very next day after the appointment, a friend of mine offered to donate his swimmers to Jess and I. And I'm a big believer of signs, and it was really hard for me to not see this as a sign. Jess needed a little bit more convincing than I did, but once legal documentation was drawn up, it seemed like we'd secured that missing piece. Like I said before, we were total rookies in this department in a lot of ways. So since we chose the less expensive route and we were doing this on our own, we had to try to figure out how to get pregnant. So I downloaded an app to track my period. And let's be honest, for the last 17 years, I haven't had to track anything. Anyways, this app told us everything we needed to know about ovulation, which I didn't even know when that occurred in my cycle. It told us when the best times were and the best days. We needed about a month or two to figure out my cycle and how to time it with our donors. You know, donation. So we made a plan for that February, and that's exactly where our fertility journey started. To say the donation part was awkward would be an understatement of the century. But bless his heart, the donor would come over to our house, do his business in a collection cup that we provided. It was not our everyday drinking cups. Then Jess would wait for the door to shut and it was go time. So it's been an extremely long time since we've been with guys. And you can just imagine, love of my life, fourth row right there, holding a cup of swimmers, trying not to spill, a fancy turkey baster in the other hand, and gagging uncontrollably all while we're trying to make a baby. So come the second week in March, we take a pregnancy test together, and it shows a plus sign. We both were super shocked because who would have thought it could be that easy? Jess really didn't believe the positive sign, so we had to drive to a different town to purchase those ones that say pregnant in big bold letters. So fast forward to our first ultrasound. Neither one of us knew what to expect because neither one of us have ever done this before. But we were super pumped to hear the baby's heartbeat for the first time. All I could remember was how rude the ultrasound technician was. He took pictures, but he didn't say a word. And at one point, I went and turned back and looked at Jess, who I kind of think knew what was going on the entire time, but I just couldn't wrap my head around what was happening. He sent us up to meet with our nurse practitioner. And Jess said in the elevator, "Well, how do you think that went?" And all I could say was, "Not well." And as soon as our nurse came to the door to call us back, I saw it in her face. that this would not be the news we were looking for. There was no heartbeat. I couldn't even tell you what happened at this appointment to this day because it's still a blur. All I gathered was that the D&C would be scheduled for April 13th. And this goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning. Throughout my soccer career, working hard and doing what I had to do resulted in great success. But fertility would be something I would soon realize that was totally and completely out of my control. And for anyone who knows me here in the crowd, I don't do well in those types of scenarios. So while we're waiting the recommended time before we try again, I had an unfortunate accident where a guy accidentally cut off 2 of my fingertips in a wood splitter, which is completely unrelated. But it was pretty significant because I was starting to feel more out of control of what was going on in my life versus what our goals actually were. So Jess and I would try again in June and July, and come the second weekend in August, we had a second positive pregnancy test. So many thoughts and emotions, feelings were flying through our heads. Again, we were so excited, but something inside me felt scared. There was no explanation as to why I had the first one, so I was worried it was going to happen again. And I was right. My second D&C would be scheduled for August 31st. And all I could think was, what's wrong with me? Why is this happening to us? We're good people and we can provide a great life for a baby. And over the next several months, it became very hard for me and us. I don't think I ever allowed myself to process the 2 miscarriages and losing my fingertips all in 4 months. But I quickly learned how common they were. Many of my coworkers' wives had been through it, and actually many people we knew had been through it. But it made me wonder, why does no one ever talk about this? And why does no one warn you that it could happen? I was very angry, upset, and frustrated with our journey. And this would only continue. But I will tell you, it made me realize a lot about myself, and it made Jess and I a stronger team. We had to learn how to communicate about what happened, just so I could sort through and process it all. And I'm sure Jess got sick of talking about the same thing over and over, but she always listened. And I also was open to talking about it with others. It didn't make it easier for me to think about having these miscarriages, but it made me feel like I could help others get through it because it could be something that they never talked about aloud before. Perhaps we women are thinking we're failures in some ways, but as cliche as this sounds, everything happens for a reason. And you may never know this reason, but there's a plan for everyone and everything. And through all this, I have just had to learn patience, which is not in my top 5 qualities. So throughout the next year, we switched donors. We tried at home one more time, which didn't work. So then we decided to take a more clinical approach, which resulted in 3 failed IUIs. I couldn't believe Jess could get me pregnant twice at home with a fancy turkey baster we bought online. But for some reason, these IUIs weren't working. But I soon would find out the possible reasons during my first round of IVF. In that initial ultrasound, it was noted that I had a cyst left over from one of the follicles from my last IUI. But this wasn't alarming because it's something that should dissipate on its own. So I'd taken shots for about a week and a half, and I found it very uncomfortable to sit normal. In fact, I had to sort of lean to the left to even sit down. And I can't remember the scientific name of the cyst, but it was basically consuming all the medicine from the shots, making it bigger than my uterus. Again, something I have absolutely no control over, but this time it was even harder for me to process and accept. I'm a police officer with the University of Illinois Police Department. And I had to submit a doctor's note to my upper command to switch my schedule from third shift hours, which is 10 p.m. to 8 a.m., to normal day shift hours. And this is not an easy thing to do in shift work where your schedule is determined by your seniority. In fact, it was so not easy. My department denied 3 doctor's notes before sending me to the disability office, who approved the 4th. Not only were my doctors baffled by this, but I was just as surprised. But in the meantime, I'm supposed to stay stress-free this entire time. So, when the doctor went in to remove the cyst, he found I had some endometriosis, I had some scar tissue, and my left ovary and fallopian tube were adhered to my uterine wall. But he did tell Jess he gave me a 20,000-mile tune-up, and that way we would get pregnant the next go-round. We're still on this journey, and I realize this may be short compared to what others have experienced or are currently going through. But I guess the reason I chose to talk about this is because no one really does. And I want women to know it's okay to talk about it, even though it's super uncomfortable to do so. We're having a girl, and she's due June 6th. And we listen to her heartbeat every night before bed, which is truly the best sound I've ever heard. Hands down, this has been the hardest journey I've ever experienced, mainly because I've had no control of the process and I don't know the outcome. I will say I can't imagine experiencing this with anyone else. Jess is the best teammate anyone could ask for. She makes me a better person, she makes me stronger and a better communicator. I know I have not been easy to deal with through this whole process. And even though I'm pregnant now, I still continue to be extremely difficult. But I do usually try to blame it on the hormones, hoping for a free pass, but I don't think she's buying that anymore. I get nervous for every appointment, every blood test result, and every ultrasound because it's such an emotional, physical, and mental roller coaster. We've experienced a lot together, from the initial donation to hundreds of shots and hearing our baby's heartbeat for the first time together. But with all these struggles, I'm still so thankful to have gone through what we have together. We're looking forward to meeting baby Hazel.
So I tried out for the track team. Hold on. That's right. I tried out for the track team when I was in the 7th grade, and God only knows why. I don't remember thinking much about the decision. I just decided to go for it. I mean, why not? Sure, I'd never trained for a running event of any kind in my life, and sure, my only athletic experience to date was a failed t-ball experience in the 3rd grade. But I was fairly good at tag, even freeze tag, you know, on the playground when middle schoolers used to play because they didn't have phones. I admit I was more of a garden variety bookworm than an athlete, and some might have even labeled me the class nerd. But whatever, I was gonna go for it. So, on this crisp February day, my non-athlete self was prepping for the audition, the tryout. And let me tell you, I looked the part. I had baggy sweatpants pulled up to just under my knee. a really big t-shirt knotted at the waist, a ponytail with a scrunchie on the other side, hi, bangs, definitely up to here. I can still smell the Aquanet, can you? And I also had these dorky glasses that kept sliding down my nose, but don't worry about that. My grade school had this super long hallway, right, in our building. I mean, at the time, it seemed super long. Probably I'd go back now and it's like 2 feet. But you would guess at the time that it was like at least 100 meters. I'm sure it was, because when you heard the whistle blow, the entire thing was to run as fast as you can to the other end, and they would time you, the coaches. And then they would, at the end of the night, tally all of the times, and the 7 fastest runners would get to make the squad or the team or whatever it's called. And I assume that's because that's how many kids would fit in the van to go to the meets. So when I went to tryouts that day, dressed to the nines, I started stretching. Ugh. And I was forming a plan. Now, I was ready to take one of those 7 spots because I was convinced that this was the start of my journey to follow in Jackie Joyner Kersey's footsteps. I could see myself on that Olympic podium. I might have even been humming the national anthem in my head. But remember, I have no clue about sprinting or long distance running or anything that requires muscles or endurance or strength of any kind. So without consulting anyone I knew, remember we didn't have YouTube University back then, I unilaterally decided that my guaranteed way to the fastest possible time and a spot on the track team and eventually Olympic gold would be to do butt kicks all the way down the hall. That's right, I legitimately thought that would get me a spot in the bag. Clearly, common sense was not my forte. And in case you currently are as clueless as I was then about the mechanics of running, butt kicks are the slowest possible way to run a 100-meter dash. So needless to say, I did not make the team. When I look back on it, I actually see a strong connection between my bookish nature and my decision to try out for the track team. I was really desperate for an escape. The older I got, I started feeling less and less confident in who I was and more like a nobody. And the more I felt like a nobody, the more I hid behind my books. I read a little bit of everything, but my favorite, my jam, Sweet Valley High. I secretly fantasized about moving to California and becoming besties with Elizabeth and Jessica Wakefield. We would go on the weekends to the beach in their Fiat. The goal was to leave behind the mundane life that I lived in a small town in southern Illinois where I was as self-conscious and as insecure as they come. To be fair, I did have a couple of what Brene Brown calls marble jar friends. These are friends that have shown over time that you can depend on them and that you can trust them. And I loved these friends dearly, and thank God for them. But I was also acutely aware of how very not cool we were. To give you an example of how not cool we were, we would call each other up on the phone, and we would plan on a regular basis to wear matching Dare to Keep Kids Off Drugs shirts. Unironically, yes. That's how very not cool we were. And for some reason, I really badly wanted to be cool. I wanted to fit in, and I did not want to be so awkward. I so badly wanted acceptance by everyone. I wanted to please everyone. And side note, I really wanted a boyfriend. That is ironic because when I was around boys, you could pretty much multiply my awkwardness by like a million. Any sense of personality or self-assurance that I did have vanished when I was around boys. And it didn't even have to be boys that I thought were cute or that I had a crush on. Literally all boys. They were like my kryptonite. I would start sweating profusely. There would be an extreme amount of saliva in my mouth, like it was foaming, and there was like the little spittle at the corner. Also, I had this ridiculous and inexplicable nervous laugh that combined with the sweating and the saliva, it was just not cute. When it came to boys, for the most part, I didn't even make it in the friend zone. I was in the twilight zone. in spite of that, I somehow did end up dating 2 boys in junior high. And can we just take a moment to recognize the ridiculousness of dating in junior high? Does anyone remember the dances? Smell of your car everywhere? Ugh. I won't go into all the details, but I do have a plethora of cringe-worthy stories about my dating life, and if you want to hear them, come find me at the after party. Fast forward to my current life. I mentor and coach teen girls, and when I hear about their middle school stories, I can totally relate. They often share the same insecurities and anxieties and frustrations and desires that I had, and I assure them they're not alone. I actually get to provide them with some empathy and guidance, and they have a sigh of relief knowing that there's someone that can not only relate, but survived. I can also reassure them that luckily at this point in my life, I have the sweating and saliva and giggling under control, for the most part. I think back to that track tryout, and at the time, I wish I had known that butt kicks were not the way to go. I wish that someone had told me, or maybe that I'd had the guts to ask someone, or that the internet had been invented so I could have Googled it. And then maybe, just maybe, I would have made the track team and become a jock instead of a nerd, and my life would have taken an entirely different trajectory. I hate to admit that I've actually thought this about many of my stupid and awkward and naive moments throughout junior high and high school, college, and a couple last week. Up until recent memory, I have often wished that I knew how to be more chill, a little less insecure, know how to say the right things at the right time, and most of all, be a little more prepared to deal with the awkward situations that I put myself in. But now, I can stand in front of you and say, as an almost fully grown adult, I'll be 40 in August, I'm here to say I'm okay with how it all worked out. You see, I kept trying to escape. Each time I switched high schools or left for college, started a new relationship, even after I graduated and was looking for a job, I was looking for an escape. Y'all, it finally dawned on me that I could not escape. I couldn't escape to Sweet Valley High, or the Olympics, or the perfect relationship or career, because, and here comes my tweetable moment, so I'll give you a minute to take out your phones. Wherever I went, there I was. And the true place I was trying to escape, the true place where my insecurities and my perceived uncoolness originated was, and sometimes still is, my own mind. The negative self-talk in my own mind, helped along by everyone's favorite comparison tool, Facebook, was always the problem. But like Dorothy with the ruby slippers, the power is with me all along. So that's the good news. I have, at long last, learned that I can choose my thoughts and shut down that negative self-talk. And I get to create empowering moments for myself and those around me. And I get to be a force for change in this world. Newsflash, guys, just like that insecure and completely clueless 7th grade girl going out for the track team, I'm still pretty awkward. And I still don't fit in all the time, and trust me, I'm very not cool. The difference is that now I own my uncoolness, and in doing that, I'm actually pretty cool. It's kind of like opposite day, opposite life. So, if you happen to see me running the Illinois Half Marathon next month, you might see a few butt kicks along the way.
When Estella and I walk down the street, a lot of people think she couldn't be my child because, one, I look so young, and two, the color of our skin is different.
Walking down the street is kind of like being in an art museum, except I'm the piece of art. It's like I'm this abstract piece of art, and instead of people looking at me and saying, how beautiful, well, sometimes they do, because let's face it, I'm pretty cute. There's this look of confusion on people's faces.
We get weird glances. I've been asked by complete strangers, is she adopted? Is she mixed? When they don't see a man, is her father black? Is he involved? Are you married?
I can tell they are thinking, who is she with? Where does she belong? Or if people finally process that I'm with my white mother, she must be adopted.
I get angry and annoyed at the generalizations, and I really just want to say it is none of your business. But I smile and politely say, I am a single mother. This is my beautiful daughter, Estella. Her father is not involved, period. I know Estella notices this more than I do.
I've become used to the feeling of always being looked at. It's more like a sixth sense. I no longer have to look up and make the awkward eye contact. It's always uncomfortable, but at some point you just get numb to it.
When she was younger, I had a boyfriend who had to point it out to me. We had gone to Applebee's for dinner, and by the end of dinner, he just kept getting angrier and angrier. He was so angry, and I didn't know what was wrong. I was, well, he said, didn't you see those people looking at us? They look at me, then they look at you, and then they look at Estella, and you could see the question in their eyes. I was more worried about our server who didn't know how to make a Shirley Temple for my daughter. That's another story. Than noticing what was going on. I hadn't noticed.
Sometimes, though, I get these nice, comforting looks. It usually comes from a person who understands it. I don't think my mom notices this one. It isn't meant for her. It's completely meant for me. They give a simple nod, and I give one back. Words of encouragement minus the words.
Now, when Estella and I drive down the street, we both have to remember that she is a person of color behind the wheel of a car. We have the same conversation over and over again. If you are pulled over, you must put both hands on the wheel at all times. Be completely cooperative. Lose the attitude. Cooperate 100% so that there is no chance, not even a small chance of something being misinterpreted. I hate that this is the world we live in. I hate that I have to have this conversation with my daughter. But I will do whatever it takes to keep her safe. I was a very different person when I found out I was pregnant. Very different. I believe and will always believe that having Estella saved my life. Sometimes I feel we grew up together. We've been called the Gilmore Girls. I've heard her say to her friends, she's not like other moms. She's called me her best friend, and I love it. Estella truly inspires me. Don't get me wrong, she is the most stubborn person I know. She is 17 after all. I'm in awe of her when she's on the stage, when she plays basketball. But when it really matters, Estella can stand up in front of our friends and family and speak so eloquently about what our aunt's life meant to her. She can exude a confidence to be so kind and offer excellent customer service to someone she's never met before. She can turn being bullied into an outcry for love and support. I've got to witness all of these acts unprompted by me. My daughter is not the same race as me, or the same race as anyone in my family. I used to think that not seeing color was the way it should be. I had to learn to accept the world the way it is so I can celebrate my daughter for who she is. And to realize that there is something missing that I cannot directly give her, because I will never know what it's like to be her in this world.
Race aside, walking or going anywhere with Monica takes way longer than it should. In case you haven't noticed, she has really short legs, and mine are longer. So walking or going anywhere with her takes way longer than it should. Monica is kind of CU famous. Hashtag CU famous. And being her daughter is really annoying because anywhere we go, she sees someone she knows, then has to talk for at least 20 minutes. And I just want to be in my bed 24/7 and avoid people as much as I can. I usually feel sorry for her. I feel sorry because she ended up with me. She'll say that I saved her life, and it's really hard for me to hear. I struggle with showing emotions. It's easier for me to think the worst about myself. But I know in my heart that this woman would do anything for me. She is an amazing mom and is everything I could have ever dreamed of. I love watching her sing. It's my favorite thing. I don't tell her that enough. It's hard for me sometimes. I know I suffer from anxiety and depression. I'm not very comfortable in my own skin. I feel like I'm this weird middle race because I'm mixed. I don't really fit in with people who are white, and I don't really fit in with people who are black. If I have to pick one race, I'll always pick black. People will say I'm white, and every time I stop them and say, no, I'm black. But because I was brought up in a white family, that's all they see. They don't see the complexion of my skin or the big curly hair. Even though I have an all-white family, that wasn't my choice. My father left, not because of me or my mom, but because of him, and that took a really long time for me to understand.
I am a single mother. I'd like to be able to say I've done it all myself, except I can't. I had the help of my family. I don't know where you are. You're out there somewhere. My mother and my father, my sister and my brother. I didn't want the help. I was really headstrong about wanting to be able to say it was all me. A lot of it was. At the end of the day, it is. But I will never be able to repay or show how grateful I am and will always be for their help. I also think I'm fortunate that her father was never involved. I would have never been able to forgive him if he ever let her down. There's never been an expectation, so I don't feel the need to hate him. Also, co-parenting would have not worked out well for me. I don't like to share, ever.
I spent a lot of my teenage years worried that I ruined her life. I always thought she dropped out of college because she got pregnant with me. My aunt told me that wasn't the case, and even then it didn't help. I have this very vivid memory of my mom trying to do homework, and I wouldn't leave her alone. I look back and feel bad. I feel like without me, she could have done so much more.
When I hear her say that, it cuts deep. Because even if she did bother me, I still finished my degree. The first one. There's more. I did it while working and being a single mother. And sometimes I even dated. Yeah, there's that. And life goes on. I have a great job that I love. I have a messy house that I adore. I have a wonderful family. And I wouldn't be who I am today without you.
At the end of the day, I have an amazing mother, and I couldn't imagine my life any other way. I've seen her struggle and overcome, but because of her, I know that I have the ability to do that too, to become more. I am who I am today because of you.
People come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the road. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. It may well be that we will never meet again in this lifetime, so let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good. And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for. But then I guess we know there's blame to share, and none of it seems Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this evening and celebrating the last 5 years of That's What She Said. At this time, we'd like to ask our past speakers to make their way to the stage, house left, to join us for the finale. As women, we are often very hard on ourselves. Tonight is not about that. It's about uplifting each other. Listen to this.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say. No one will love you as you are. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say. No one will love you as you are. But won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. The sharpest words wanna cut me down. Gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me.
At this time, we'd like to welcome our very special guest and past That's What She Said speaker, Miss Katie Flynn. Creative Director Jeanette Jurek and our founder Carrie Rawson. Lovely. Thank you all so much for coming.